Hi everyone, GSI Luca here. Today I'm going to show you how to install a Fanatec Podium hub, a Simucube quick release, and a GSI QRS1 with an AH50 or AH100 attached to the back of the wheel. Now, sometimes you don't want to bolt a quick release directly to the back of the wheel, and so we recommend using a hub extension like the AH50. This could be for reach, maybe from your wheelbase, or just compatibility with that respective wheelbase. And sometimes it's just personal preference. Sometimes it's just better to have a hub and attach directly to the hub, and it's really down to the individual. So the way you go about this depends on how you're connecting or what you're connecting to your wheel. We'll start with maybe the most complicated. It's not really complicated, but between these three it is, and that'll be for the Fanatec Podium hub. Now, what's unique about this particular QR is that you would normally install it from the inside of the wheel, and many who have a Fanatec Podium hub would ask us, is there a way to do it without it? Yes, that's why we recommend an AH50. So before you even get started and attach the hub to the wheel, you'll want to attach the hub to the Fanatec Podium hub. Reason being, if you were to install the hub onto the back of the wheel, logo facing up, the unthreaded side against the body, if you could imagine, when you're putting the Podium hub on, the threads are going to be accessed from the inside here. Now, when you have it attached to the wheel, you can imagine it's going to be really difficult to access those from the inside. And so we recommend doing it in a different order, which is just get the Fanatec Podium hub on the table like this. Make sure you are putting the threaded side onto the back like so, and you want the GSI logo facing up. And we'll start with the captive screws, which you'll also need in order to complete this installation. And a quick little recap about captive screws. They're different from just a regular screw, where a captive screw is only partially threaded. So if we look at our captive screw here on the bottom, you could see that the majority of the shaft actually doesn't have any threads. It's only the very end of it that does, versus a regular hub screw, this being one that comes with your AH50 and 100. So if you're doing this method, you'll still need captive screws, but you won't need to open the wheel up. So to prep this, we're going to put Podium hub aside and start threading through the inside of the hub here outwards. So we'll be right back once we get all of those threaded through. So now that we have all of the captive screws threaded through, you'll know that they're ready to go when they're loose and they're able to kind of wiggle within the unthreaded portion. If any part of it is kind of stuck, make sure you thread it through all the way. They should all have a little bit of play in them. So now that we've got that prep work out of the way, we're going to get our Podium hub with two ways to identify the correct orientation. Is the Fanatec logo right way up, so bottom of the F facing you, and then also the connector should be facing you as well, or downwards. And now we're going to get the GSI logo facing us like so, and we're going to start with the top and bottom captive screws, and we're going to partially thread them in a star pattern, making sure that we don't apply too much pressure or tighten them too much. So once you get them partially threaded, you'll want to move in a star pattern. So that's like so for both of those on each side. And so the reason you want to do it this way is because now those captive screws are preventing the hub and screw from releasing one another. What will happen is if you tighten one side down, you're going to compress the other screws and then risk damaging the hub or threads. So we're going to continue now and work our way down little by little. If you feel a lot of resistance, that just means that you need to tighten up one side a little bit more than the other. All right, so these are now just snugged up against the hub. There shouldn't be any gap around this edge here. So we're going to just look around. Yep, that's looking good. And now we're just going to tighten them up. Okay, that feels good. So the completed assembly should look something like this. And now when we go to install this to the wheel, the screws that we'll need to access are going to just be facing us rather than kind of inside the hub here, and with the shifters in the way, it's just very difficult to do it this way. So this is why I wanted to call that particular part out, just to make your life a little bit easier. The rest of the assembly is pretty straightforward. You just grab your included hub screws and place it onto the wheel, thread it down, tighten it, and you're pretty much done. Now, we're going to do the exact same thing, except this time we're going to do it for the Simucube QR as well as the QRS one. All right, so next step here, much simpler than the Fanatec Podium hub install. We're going to do it just like we always do it. Flip the wheel around, get our hub, find the unthreaded side, place that against the wheel, and we're going to get our included hub screws and install the hub. So we get the hub on like this. And now we're going to grab our Simucube quick release, and using the included 6 longer screws with a locking washer, we're going to put them in through the corresponding holes here. We got 6 of them. And essentially, you know the rest. You align it with the hub side threads, you thread it down, and we're gonna get this partially on there for demonstration purposes, just so you know what it looks like. Once that's on, this is the end result. And now you have a 50mm spacer and a Simucube QR, and it would be the exact same process, except you would use the included screws for the QRS wheel side, and you'd place it in this orientation with the included QRS countersunk screw, which looks like this. So screws are slightly different, but the installation method is pretty much identical, and the end result is you have a little bit more distance between the wheel and the wheelbase, and you give the cable coming out from the back here a little bit more breathing room as well, so that you're not bending it or just straining it unnecessarily. But it's also a personal preference thing, and so that's how you do that. So hope you found this helpful. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be happy to get back to you.